Hello, everybody. Welcome to the OAGRC. It's time for us to start getting ready for the Orchard Raceway 2024. And we're going to have an exhibition match. And it's going to be our Tamiya hoppers. Well, all of our hoppers. Not just, well, I think they are just Tamiya hoppers mainly. But these guys are going to go out on the track and give us a bit of fun just to get us warmed up ready for the season. The Frog is now moving into the hopper class. Last season, if you remember correctly, this finished in 4th position. It was the wooden spoon of the finale, unfortunately. And it's not surprising, really. The ORV chassis is very competent on an off-road track, but it was competing against some quite awesome RCs, really. So I thought we'd take the hoppers out and let them have a little class of their own. So, to start off with, let me introduce you to the OAG's Frog. The ORV chassis is an off-road chassis. It's very basic, really. Onboard front suspension. So the suspension is inside these front arms here. And you can see already that while mine works, it is a little bit stiffer than perhaps I would like it to be. And the rear suspension, as you can see, is here on these rear suspension mounts there. It's got the same rear tyres that you would see on a Hornet and the same front tyres that you would see on a Grasshopper or a Hornet, I believe, also has those same front tyres. So it's very similar to the rest of the hoppers that we have in the same class. Now this, I can't remember my Tamiya timeline off the top of my head, but I do think this was slightly after the Grasshopper and the Hornet. And it does give us, I think, a more competent drive. These front knuckles here can be a weak point, so they can twist here if they're not tight enough, and I don't think mine are tight enough, but it'll certainly be all right for a couple of laps out on the Orchard Raceway in an exhibition match. So that is the Tamiya Frog, our first entry into the two-wheel drive hopper class. Here's the Frog's little brother, the Grasshopper. Now, my Grasshopper is from the 80s. This is an original Grasshopper. It does have a reproduction body on it because the original body looked nothing like this particular one, even though this one does look like it's got some road rash from the 1980s. These light buckets were on the original car that I had back in the 80s, and I thought they were a nice little nod to how old this particular model is. It has Hornet tyres that have been wedged on rather than the tyres that come on the Grasshopper. The Grasshopper has paddle tyres, and these have got the Hornet spikes. I have put some aftermarket oil-filled shocks on the back of there, just to try and give it a little bit more of a dampened suspension at the back. That fixed rear axle again. The front, spring-loaded shocks, which do absolutely nothing. And a steering that moves in and off camber as the suspension works. It's an old car, this. Yeah, it's been run about all over the place. It's been jumped. It's been bashed. We treated it really badly as kids. In the back there, it's got a 380 motor, so it's going to be the slowest car that hits the Orchard Raceway this season. I have no doubt about it. But slow sometimes means more accurate. So let's see how this particular model gets out on the track. Now we're getting into the models that are too big for the camera. The Tamiya Mad Bull. My Mad Bull is equipped with a Fighter Buggy RX body with memorial decals, which is a little bit different. It also has CVA shocks, which is also a little different. Not on the original Mad Bull, they had friction shocks. You can see it suffers with that same horrible steering at the front that has incredible difficulty when it comes to moving around. It's going to cause some difficulties when it goes over the jumps, that's for certain. And at the back here, you've got the same rear axle that goes on the lunchbox, and very similar to the one that goes on the Grasshopper. This model is absolutely huge, and often I struggle out on the Orchard Raceway in getting it around. The Raceway does have some slightly wider lanes this year. I am hopeful that this has little difficulty getting around the track. This particular one, I can't remember. Peter Smith donated this to the channel, and I've got a feeling in there is a Tamiya sport tuned motor, but I can't see in there to tell you what it is that's in there. But it definitely is a little bit hotter than a standard motor, and as a result this one does tend to go a little bit quicker. The problem I often find with it is it's harder to control because it steers all over the shop. What it does do is, because of those massive monster tyres at the front, it rides over the bumps like an absolute champ. So let's hope that it does well out on the raceway. And the final entry for the exhibition is the mighty Pump Box Lunchbox Midnight Pumpkin Edition. You guys have seen this out on the channel before. It has been nicely hopped up. We've got a few flashy bits of orange at the front and the back, oil-filled shocks, which still gives it quite a bit of bounce, to be quite honest. These monster tyres with their little nubby bits on the tread. We've got a nice high torque servo saver in there as well, and I think in the back of here somewhere, if you can see it in the back, we've got a Retro Sport Holmes Hobby, I think that's a 19 turn motor in the back of there to give it a bit of oomph. Will I be able to control it? That is the bigger question when you're dealing with a lunchbox. And will I be able to take it over the jumps without rolling it again and again and again and again and again? I hope that this goes all right this season. I will take it easy, or as easy as I can do, over the jumps, and let's see if I can post some decent times. And then